Hey everybody, it's episode, I don't know why I'm starting like that. I don't ever start like that. Hey everybody, it's Diane Gibbs, your host of Design Recharge. It's episode 340 and I'm super excited to have Jeffy Thomas. You know what I just realized, Jeffy? We probably
Hey,
should have
everybody.
done it on episode 365, but we wanted to do it closer. That would have been really really good if we could have done that. Hey Tara. Okay, so we got Colorado's represented today. We got 3 people in Colorado. Okay, so Jeffy is from Philadelphia. Well, he lives in Philadelphia now, and he is an architect. Crazy.
Working at our architecture firm, but yeah, I'll
Well,
take
that's
it. I'll
what you
take it.
studied in school.
Correct.
But then he had, hey, mom, he had a love for design and illustration. And he, like so many of us, have been afraid of the white page, right?
Yep.
So if we're talking about a 365 project that he started when? What day was it? Do you remember?
Probably around April 11th, 2019. So a year from last Saturday.
So this past Saturday, you celebrated a year, and did you stop the drawing?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I just signed on for another 365 days because I'm crazy.
Okay, awesome. All right, we got lots of people. And if you could just tell me in the chat where you're calling in from or whatever, tuning in from, that'd be awesome. So it's good to have Michael Campbell
Oh,
here,
Mike.
Brian White, and everybody else that I've already mentioned earlier. So I'm glad everybody, oh, Indianapolis, awesome.
Paul, yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay, guys. So Jeffy has taken my challenge and is going to teach us something. But first, Jeffy, can you give us a little bit of your background and what got you into illustration and design, and then how you came to America?
How far? So going
Yeah,
back in
let's
time.
go all the way because I didn't think when he told me that he was born somewhere else, I didn't believe him.
That's fair.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffy Thomas, as Diane said. I am an Indian born in Bahrain, which is in the Middle East, right by Saudi Arabia. Went to school in Bahrain for kindergarten and middle school, and then went to India for boarding school for 4 years. Once I graduated there, I did a semester in Dubai for college as I waited for my visa to come here to Philadelphia or to the US. Once I got the visa, I moved to the US. So that's my journey in life. But in terms of creativity, like many Indian students, my dad probably, or my parents both, probably when they had me, were like, he's going to be an engineer or a doctor or something else. And all throughout life, I just kind of like, those were the classes that I just kind of like kept stumbling in and not being as good in. But I was always, my mom had a creative side. She was always like into crafts and stuff. And I always was drawn to what she was doing. And I would like, I wouldn't say I was like drawing all the time. You know, some people are just, I draw all the time. And I'm like, all my notes have drawings on it. It wasn't me, but I would sit down and dabble. And then once I moved to India for high school, I started actually drawing a lot more because there's this like a couple friends that were just really prolific and just really amazing creative people, and I wanted to be like them or just like be equal to them, and so that I could like, oh man, I want to be creative. Like this is a thing that I could do instead of like a doctor or an engineer. And came back after college, and you know, it's time, or not after college, but like right before applying to college, and right while we were applying to college, and my dad was like, "So, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Art," and he said, "No." Um,
My dad said no too.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
so I guess it's not just an Indian thing. He's like, "How are you going to make money?" And I didn't have an answer for that, and that's okay. So I said, "How about interior design or architecture?" And that was like close enough to design and like art that I could get without, you know, being an engineer. And here we are, or here we were up until 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, so then you graduate from art, you make great relationships. You actually
I
are
did.
working with somebody that you went to school with, right?
Correct.
And that says a lot
So,
about you as a
mhm,
your character, but you decided to do something else.
correct. So I went to school for architecture, graduated with an architecture degree. Um, Once again, so I'm not a citizen, so I had to uh, figure out if I wanted to stay and like go to school a little longer, and I did. I stayed, um, and went to school for digital design. Um, Problem is, it was a beta course, so I learned a little bit about a lot of things and not enough about one thing, um, which was great. So it got me like really interested in design. But I also then graduated with that degree during the recession, and no one was hiring. So during this time, I got married to my wonderful wife, Tony, who um, is an American citizen, so which is how I'm here. But she was gracious enough and like patient enough while I kept searching for jobs and kind of like hitting dead end after dead end. Um, and I, you know, I needed a way to make some money, so I started actually uh, trying my hand more intentionally at the art thing. But I didn't have a direction. I was like painting, I was illustrating, I was paper cutting, I was just like all across the board. And I would go to these craft fairs and be just like, here, and it just looked like a bunch of crafts, and there was like no concise story. Um, and then, you know, over the years, through trial and error, uh, Cut Ink or Cut Ink Studio kind of formed, and that was my personal kind of like brand, my personal project of paper cutting and illustration. And that's where this journey, I would say, like the official, where I would call this beginning of that journey, started. I like to joke and say it started from an accident where I was doing an illustration and I messed up a section. I was really upset. It was a gift for a friend, and another friend that was there said, "I'll just cut it out as a joke," and I did, and it looked great. And that's how I got into paper cutting.
So, but
Which,
one of the things for me of your work
mhm,
is it's very meditative. It's
it
also,
is.
there's so much pattern, but you always had worked really pretty small, right? That you didn't have
Yeah,
huge, big things.
no, I would
And you worked
say,
in with your pencil, like, or a pen, right? You worked
yeah,
by hand.
yep. Happy accidents. That's right, Amy. Uh, I, yeah. So everything was like 8 by 10, smaller. I would get so close. Like I would be that person that's like with was it the 0.05 micron, like
Yeah.
head almost in the paper drawing. Um, and then like would look back and like, oh my God, I've only done this much. So like I just kept working small because that's all I would that's how I draw. Yeah, and that's all I would like give myself space for. But it was very meditative. It came at a time where, you know, I was kind of in crisis where I couldn't find a job and I couldn't, you know, I just felt like a failure. So I needed this thing that could be a release, and that was kind of a practice. It became a practice where I could just like breathe through the stress and like kind of, and like focus my mind, where like it's so easy for me to like worry about the first thing that passes through my head.
Mm.
And this was a thing that I just couldn't think of anything else because I was just drawing line after line after line. Um, so yeah, so that's how that uh, that journey happened. And then, you know, over the course of the years, I've met people and kind of the work has changed a little bit. And then, um, you know, we come to a point in 2018 where I finally find myself with a job, with an architecture job, one that's like actually um, great, paying bills. And I now don't have time because I have a day job, or at least that was my excuse. I don't have time to focus.
And before you were doing work, you had a job at a printer, or
Hmm.
they did all, and so you learned a ton about printing. You would do
I did.
design work for them. And so it was a good kind of entry level design, but you realize that it was limiting to some extent. You have also great relationships with those people at that
Hmm.
company as well, because you are really community driven. So I'm kind of trying to paint the picture for people. So
No, I
you,
appreciate it.
you worked small. It was very, you're going to see some of the work. Maybe you saw some already. If you go to Cut with 2 T's Ink Studio on Instagram, I'll share a link in a minute. So you can just click it and go and look at it if you want, and go back and see, because he's been doing a project a day. And so at that time, you had already, about a year ago, you had already gotten an iPad, right?
Yeah, about a year ago, I got an iPad. The deal was, this was essentially right before going to Creative South uh, last year. And told Tony, my wife, that if I don't use this for the first month enough, that she had full, I love tech. So this was like a deal that I made with her, that she has full control of taking it back to the store. And then while I was there at Creative South, I talked to, and we'll get into this later, I'm sure, but I talked to a friend of mine, his name's David, and he talked about having done the 365-day project a couple times actually. And, I was just like, well, what'd you get from it? And he spoke to a fear that I have directly, and kind of you mentioned, or you teased too, which is the fear of a blank piece of paper. And I was like, okay, all right. But this is also back to, in 2018, I just kind of like gave up on cutting studio, and I was like, I'm making enough money from the day job, but I was becoming someone I didn't like. That's the other impetus of this, was like, I was losing myself, um, and not having this release that I've built to need.
So one
Or
of the thing that,
myself.
so I met Jeffy at Creative South, and Jeffy's been a volunteer for me because he's an awesome volunteer, and he's one of my really, really good friends. We meet once a month, for forever. We've done this, and I'm super thankful. But Jeffy would, he is really about community, and really he loved collaboration. And he had this one collaboration when he really wasn't doing a ton of stuff on his own. He was collaborating with a ceramicist, which you're going to see some work. This was the ceramic artist would, and you only have one left, right? These things
I
go
do
like
only have one.
hotcakes, kind of, right?
Yes.
So she would give you, right? It's a woman.
Hmm.
She would give you the thing, and then you would carve into it, and then she would dip it in or do whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know exactly how all that works. It's magic, people. So then Jeffy would have them, and then he would be able to sell some, and then she would be able to sell some, and they would do some things together, craft fair wise. And he really does enjoy things like that. He does stuff like that with his church. He's kind of helped them create this sort of, and it's been lots of years you've done it, right?
What, the
Craft fair.
mugs?
Yeah.
Oh, craft fairs. Yeah, yeah, and then just like the mugs and other collaborations.
All right, but you hadn't worked digitally, so you had just gotten the
Hmm.
iPad.
Correct.
And so you come back from Creative South, or at Creative South, you started the 365.
At Creative South.
Okay. So you start it. Um, do you want to go into your thing? So um, okay, why go all the way to 365? Why not start with 100-day or a 30-day, Jeffy?
Um, so that's fine. 30-day didn't seem long enough. I had given up on this thing for a year. So 30 days was just not enough to kind of build uh, build that muscle memory. Like,
Mm,
I knew that I had trained myself to give into the idea of the flinch. Do you know what that is? Like, it's that like moment before you just succumb to fear, or
mm.
like it's that moment that where your brain, or your body and your brain can like allow you to just be like, no, you know what, I'm not going to do it. And I knew that I needed to get past that. I needed to hit the flinch and then continue still to do the project or do the thing that I needed to do. So I knew that 30 days, knowing myself, was not going to be enough.
So you
100 days.
wanted to get back into a habit of doing this regularly.
Yeah, correct.
So that was one of, and the other one that Dave said was that you would be able to not look at a blank page and be scared anymore.
Correct. He spoke to two things, right? The fear of the blank piece of paper, and two, that like he said also in that same breath that like I'm probably not going to create the most amazing thing, but I will create a thing. And that was amazing, because that was my fear. That was like the fear of the blank piece of paper kind of stems from, I would put so much pressure on this was even true for sketchbooks, right? I cannot show you a sketchbook because everything had to be so perfect, even in a sketchbook. So that fear translated all throughout, and he spoke to that.
So that kind of goes with that fear of being the precious things, right?
Absolutely.
Like you couldn't mess up something. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So do you want to share your deck? You want to teach us something?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let me share my screen.
So I'm excited to see all y'all here. Demi's here from London. Amber's here from Huntsville. All right. Talk to us. We got it.
Oh, is this working? There you go. So kind of what we were talking about a couple minutes ago, identifying what you're struggling with, right? So like, I think that this is one of the two most important parts. Like my struggle was the fear of a blank piece of paper, and how whatever I put on this blank piece of paper has to be the most amazing thing that I've ever created. So I was able to identify that, or really David was able to identify that for me, and he had come out of that. So it was like so easy for me to do that, to see that perfectly. Maybe for you, it's not having enough time in the day to make something. And I have a friend that just recently, after I chatted with him, was like, you know what, I don't have time to create an amazing drawing, but I do have 5 minutes that I could like sketch a tiny monster out digitally. You guys should check it out. His handle is Dawnland1999. He's got some fun. I'll send that in the chat in a little bit. But so yeah, like identifying what you're struggling with is important. Where are you finding that resistance and that friction in your process? For me, that was kind of like the flinch. I would just be like, well, I can't create something amazing, so I'm just not going to. Right. So now I just wouldn't even sit down at my desk in the studio. I wouldn't sit down because my process was always on paper and a pen and a micron, and it just felt too precious, like you were saying, Diane. My
Is
day
this a
job
micron?
Where?
This
one? No, this is digital. Okay. This is digital. So
okay.
Everything I'm showing right now is, or mostly everything is digital right now. I'll call it out if it's not.
Okay.
This one is digital, but it would. I kind of like this image. Like I always felt like I had ideas, I had everything, but there was this huge mountain that I had to get across, and that was that resistance. It's, I just kept hitting a wall, and I would just allow the wall to stop me. So yeah, I just wouldn't sit down with the micron.
So why? Do you know what that was? Why you couldn't get past it?
Yeah, I think at that point it was me just having trained myself to give up so easily over the course of that year between 2018 and 2019, that it just became like, it almost was that I trained myself the opposite of what I'm trying to do now, which is train myself to sit down and draw. I had trained myself to not to allow myself to like just give up. It's easier to give up and go sit down and watch TV, or watch something on YouTube, or like just
anything
there's so
else.
many.
Yeah,
anything else felt easy. Oh, it was also easier And that was the key word. It was easier to
But you
do
were
this
being
project.
stretched at work, right? This
I
wasn't like
was.
you were just going. So there has to, at some
There
point you
is an
have,
outside force.
right? And you have to be a little bit kind to yourself, and to, when you're
Hmm.
learning something new or you're getting back into something.
Hmm.
So I think that you have to
This
give
is me
yourself grace,
talking
right?
about, yeah, this is pre that, right? This is you determining what the blocks are, and like
Hmm.
what those and identifying what the resistance and the friction is.
Mm.
Because if you aren't able to do that, however long your project is, 30, 100, 365, I feel like the success is going to, or like the your traction is going to be harder, like for yourself.
Dimmy says, cold showers every morning killed the flinch for me. You experience the fear of ice cold water hitting your face, and then you realize that you didn't die. Nothing wrong happened. All the fears in the rest of the day seem smaller somehow afterwards. I love that. All right, keep
Yeah.
going, Jeffy.
Oh no, was that Demi you said? You
Yeah,
said that?
Dimmy.
Yeah. Uh, that's funny because like the video where I got that idea from was from a video that this YouTuber Matt Diavella made, that does exactly that, and I was just like, oh, I can relate to that. Um, so the other kind of like aspect of this is, at least I feel the other aspect of this that's super important, is to find or figure out who can help hold you accountable to your project. For me, that was easy. It was Instagram. I was like, it was easy because I didn't have to rely on any one person. It was just that I would come in, post it, and be able to leave, and it's there, and people can see Jeffy's done today's or tomorrow's or whatever, um, that might look different to you. Maybe you don't want to share your project. So like identifying a person, a community, a group of people, a bunch of creatives, like whatever that is for you, to keep you accountable to that project.
In the beginning, were you trying to make it look like your other stuff, or were you trying something different? Because it seemed like you went through a few phases, a few different themes in your year.
I I bounced, which takes us to this slide. For me, it was very important to allow myself, I gave myself the permission to play and experiment. This was not a year of get better at my skill.
Mm.
It was get better at creating, or really just like figure out what creating actually means now without these rules. I was really good when I would cut paper or do paper cutting illustrations. I would cut the piece of paper and then illustrate inside the shape that I've cut. And then I would also, once I stopped doing paper cutting, I still would draw a shape and like illustrate inside the shape. And you see that in some effect to my work now, but allowing myself the space and giving myself the permission to play and experiment, I have started to create things that are larger, and my lines have gotten a lot thicker. Like I'm not drawing with the 0.05 as much anymore. Here you can see like thicker lines even in my digital work and my hand-drawn work. Like the speaker is like, I literally drew on my speaker with like a thicker marker, and just, the like, I guess the expression of my lines have changed is the best way I can like
Mm.
describe that.
But you pushed
Um,
yourself, because scale was not something you'd worked with. Thick
Absolutely not.
lines was not. Digitally, so it was a whole lot of uncomfort. And then you added actually marking up real objects that
Mhm.
you had as precious, right?
Correct. So that speaker I saved up and bought, and there's like, that can never get dirty. And then one day, when you have to draw for 365 days, uh, things start to just be like, draw on me. Um, and those speakers, there's two of them, so I got two posts out of it. So
So
yeah, so
out.
like not only did my lines change, I think we mentioned earlier that like I predominantly worked in black and white,
Mhm.
because color is not something I'm comfortable with. I would still say that I am not as comfortable. I will push myself in color more now, It's easier digitally because, you know, when I'm drawing on the iPad, it's easier to just drop a color and be like, nope, that doesn't look right. And then just like redo. Um, but yeah, so like I've started to use a lot more color. People started to see me explore my work more, and it did, like, the redundancy, even though there is some, like, I recycle a lot of like subject matter. um I People have started to like, oh, I really like how you draw these, like, you know. And so now I've in November I decided that I wanted to do a few murals. I wanted to do 3 murals by the end of the year, end of last year. And I was lucky enough to have friends of mine that like call me in and give me the opportunity to work on some murals. And by this point in time, you know, I'm already like about 200 or just under 200 uh, posts in. And one of the things we do in the architecture world is, you know, when you've drawn a detail for a part of a building, of like how something connects, you don't want to draw it every time, right? Like, you can just like copy and paste this detail because it saves time. What luckily I'm beginning to understand and realize as I come to the end, or just finished, is that I have so much subject matter that I've like, I see the chat blowing up and I want to like look, but I'm gonna keep talking. What I've realized is I've built this inventory of subject matter, which has been really cool when it comes to the murals that I do, because I tend to do these murals that are like a mix of pattern and like tiny vignettes nested in them. So as you can see in the first 2 murals on there, there's a bunch of pattern work kind of calling back to my old work, and then these vignettes that are kind of pulled from and placed. And then, you know, there's the mural on the right on the window. That was a fun collaboration with a consignment store in the city, a friend of mine that opened, and she was just like, I've also learned that I've become a lot more bold in my approach to people. Like, I've become more confident in my work.
So not just in your line work, you actually
Not just in
became
my
more
line work.
confident in that you could do something. Like we have talked about this, like at Creative South, there's something that's called Ink Wars. And it's very stressful. I would never do it personally because you have no idea what they're going to tell you to draw, and there's no plan. You can't plan, right? But now
Correct.
it's like you've drawn these things without thinking, without having to have a prompt. You just
Yeah.
you just started drawing, so you knew you could do it. So the storefront, the bathroom stalls, you know, it was, you knew you could do it. So this happened at about what day? Like what number day?
You know what? I would say like high hundreds uh, or low 200s. So like around there. So this is ballpark October, November, December of last year.
So
The middle one, the middle mural, the one on the door with the blue, is from like early this year.
so confidence was high in not only your strokes, but you had
Correct.
been practicing on these things because you'd drawn on your speaker and you'd drawn on those dolls and you'd drawn
Yeah.
on the door and you'd drawn on lots of things. And then you started also getting confident of saying, hey, I could help you with this, right?
Yeah. So I actually, for the window mural, I texted my friend that had been posting about her store and was just like, hey, if you need a mural, I'm your guy. And she's, I was like, I see there's a wall that's black behind you. And she's like, well, I can't do anything on the wall, but how do you feel about windows? And that's how I got that window mural.
And you had
And
never done a window, right?
nope, absolutely not. I was so worried to come back after the 2 days and like I did something wrong and the paint just washed off or something. And nope, we're good. It stayed for, it actually was harder to remove than I expected. So it was fun. There's a lot of like trial and error, and I'm okay with that. And I'm kind of like enjoying that. You know, that's that like space to play and experiment, and like
Mhm.
also finding the people that are um okay with that, like allow or appreciative of that play and like understand where you're coming from. I know that's not a courtesy that everyone gets offered. I've been lucky to somehow be aligned with those people, and that's been amazing on this journey. So if you're able to, like talk to your friends and like talk to your friends' friends, because they're probably the people that will be able to offer you that. Most of my murals have come from word of mouth, or just like somebody was like, I'm doing a mural, I would love for you to just come like pinch hit on this. Like the top left mural and the bottom one, the long wide one, wasn't my actual mural. There was like people working on it, and then I had just like a section that was mine. So those two doors are mine,
Mm-hmm.
This one, know that 365 days is a lot of days. You are going to have days that you don't want to do anything. You're going to have days that are hard, that are difficult, that are sad. This was one day, this drawing came on a day that someone in my family was sick and had passed away. And the last thing I wanted to do was draw. And it was important enough for me to show up and draw that I did it. This drawing probably took 10 to 15 minutes. It wasn't even that long. We were driving. Well, I wasn't driving. Tony was driving, but we were in transit, and I drew this and I posted it and I'm actually kind of grateful because it serves as a marker. Not that I showed up, but that I now look at this and I like have these like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, it's funny how doing something for a year and looking back on it, it almost is like a little stamp or a marker of that year, kind of like places like what do you call, like the pins on a map, so it's really important to show up on those difficult days, even if it's just for a couple minutes, even if the best that you can do is just sit down at your desk. Just to keep that muscle moving. I know that for some people, especially in a time like this during the pandemic that we're in, like showing up might be hard, and that's okay. Like, I think grace is important. Show yourself grace. Like, also maybe this journey is not for you, and that's okay too. But I want to close off on, I hope that close off this presentation, that whatever journey that you pick, whatever project that you are doing, is sort of life-giving to you. If you're a coffee drinker, I hope that it gives you the energy that coffee can, or conversations with people around coffee can. I know that that's not as easy now at this moment, but I wish that whatever project or whatever you're working on gives you the life and energy that you need it to do. Thanks, guys.
I love that. All right, so I have some questions, and I'm sure y'all do too. Feel free to put it in the chat and I will ask. So, not only confidence, but it helps you with exploration and helped you with knowing that you could handle whatever came your way, right? Which I think we don't put enough weight in a lot of times. All right, so before this project, you held things that you were making as precious, right? There were, and I do this too, I think we all do this, the sketchbook that you never, because it's leather and you don't want to mess it up, it's just too perfect, right? So you never use it. Did you know that you were doing this before? Did you realize that you were had the precious enemy?
I would say not consciously. I mean, I think I knew that I was doing it, but not enough to identify it as the issue.
So then, did you realize that you were not exploring because of the perfectionist crutch, or did it was just too precious and you didn't want to mess it up?
No, I don't think I realized it. I realized it, I think, right when I started this project. how much I was not exploring. Because actually, funny enough, working with pen and paper, I only went so far. I only tried so much, and moving digital. And I should also preface that, like, I moved digital to also help me show up.
Mm.
I should have said that during the presentation. I moved digital so that I couldn't have the excuse of like, oh, I don't have my microns. Like, I always carry my iPad with me everywhere, and it's easy to just like even take 5 minutes to draw and post something. And that allowed me to explore. There are drawings that I'm just like, it's just a face, or like there are actually 3 drawings that are just stick figure characters in a backdrop that is something that I normally draw. And like, there's something hilarious and funny and beautiful about that, because people are like, wait, you drew a stick figure? And I was like, yeah, that's all I could. I can't draw figures well, and like, and it's great. But
I think some of it is, for me, the exploration is really can be it's so exciting, but it's also so terrifying, right? And it
mhm.
is that you called it the what did you call it?
The flinch.
The flinch. Yes. Okay. So um pushing yourself digitally made you show up, but it also you said you were going to be held accountable by a whole group of people, right?
Mhm.
So there was pressure, I guess, self pressure outside. But sometimes it can be very scary to share,
Mhm.
especially when you're learning something. How did you get over that?
Um, I think initially it was easy because I was just sharing into like a void. If or I was just like, I'm sharing, and people like, if they like it, like Instagram's such a scroll heavy,
Right.
um, and nothing that I was putting out was like heavy hitter, like huge messages. Like at least the first like 200, it was just kind of like me building muscle and me just like drawing. So it was just kind of like easier to put it. I was just like, here's a
So
pretty picture, look at it.
you didn't
But
take it so serious because you knew that it didn't maybe have it's not going to hold me back. It's saying, hey, I'm just exercising.
correct. That is exactly what this was. This was a more of an inward journey that people were getting to watch, I guess, is the best way to describe that.
Okay, because that is inspiring a lot of times to people. Okay, so one of the things that you did that was a different was that you changed scale. And I think scale, the
I did.
difference is so different because you were working so small,
Hmm.
and you were cutting things out, and now it's huge on a wall. Even planning stuff like that, I don't know if being in the architecture world helped you kind of, because scale for architecture is not tiny.
Mm-mm.
So so can you talk about a little bit how you pushed yourself, maybe what the first one you did was, and how that made you feel,
The
and how
first
you
one,
pushed through like doing something bigger?
sure. Yeah. So I think that um, doing the murals, the first mural, and then also kind of like pieces like this that's behind me, that's up there. It's like an 18 by or 24 by 36 board that's up there. Um, Learning that my lines, the amount of time a piece takes also can sometimes be a deterrent for me. So like these drawing digitally and like being able to just like create a pattern and like just kind of like go with the flow, let the lines go where they want to go, and not put so many rules and constraints on my drawing, which is what I used to do, has been once again freeing, and also allowed me to create with like, I use, when I'm drawing on bigger things, I use thick paint markers. I don't actually know how wide they are, but like
Half inch, like
really
the Molotov or the Creek,
correct.
or
Yeah,
yeah.
just like, and just thick line, and let it flow, and like create these like beautiful topographical looking drawings, illustrations. And so that's part of it that like allowed me to start getting comfortable moving larger. And also when I was doing one of the murals, the one that was on the long blue one, uh, I remember talking with my friend that was doing this mural with me, and one of the things he said was like, listen, dude, this is up 8 feet off the ground. And if you draw your tiny lines like you do, this was in love, right? Like, but like I had to like hear that, and that was really difficult for me to hear. Like, you're telling me that I can't draw like my million tiny lines. And he's like, yeah, it's just gonna look gray. No one's gonna see it. Like, think about this from someone standing far back in that store and looking at it. And I am glad that I was able to hear that criticism and take it and like understand and learn from it, because I think that criticism is what's gotten me to here, like to being open to doing that and like playing with those thicker lines.
All right. So John says when he said your struggle with the blank page because it had to be perfect is exactly what he struggles with. It wasn't until I heard you say it that I realized fully that that was my nemesis too. I've always known that I needed to be perfect, but I didn't realize just now that it was really a roadblock. And he said, "Thanks for sharing." And then Paul said,
Absolutely.
or unless you want to comment to John, give him a little
No,
encouragement.
just like I think that that's a hidden kind of roadblock that a lot of people experience. And John, I really hope that you're able to kind of like, now that you've recognized it, work with that, you know, in whatever way possible to get past it.
And sometimes it's just working on something that's not white, like painting
Mhm.
it or doing some sort of collage in the background that you're going to cover up anyway, but at least
Mhm.
it's not starting with the blank. You spill ink or you do something,
Mhm.
it could just be that you need to mess up. And I think that helps with exploration and play too, because then you
Yeah.
see other things. So then Paul said, Jeffy, I wonder about style. Did you feel constrained by the style you were creating? And he asked because it seemed like you're going in a new direction with your second 365.
Um, I think that I'm still exploring with this new 365. The I was chatting with Debbie actually, and oh, am I still on here?
Yeah, you're,
Okay,
I
cool.
don't see your screen. I just see your beautiful face.
Oh, that's great. Uh, everything moved. Sorry. Um,
You were talking with Debbie.
yeah, I was talking with Debbie, and we were chatting about what this journey would look like, right? Because I've done this 365. I've done some exploring. What does it look like now? What am I doing? And I think that what this new 365 is still me exploring my style, but more focused on like what am I trying to say? I really want to help the people in my community, right? Like, there's a lot of people going through some hard times, and towards the end of this previous 365, I realized that one of the things that I want to do is provide moments of peace and calm and joy uh, to the people that are either following me or around me through my work at a moment that they might need it the most. Um, Sometimes it looks like the time-lapse videos of my drawings coming to life, and sometimes it's just like the perfect sunset drawing or something. Not perfect,
Mhm.
but like the best sunset drawing I could make at that time.
That day, the
Yes,
perfect one for you that day, right?
that day, correct.
Yeah.
Um, and so in term to answer Paul your question, um, I would say cut ink style, or my style from 2 years ago, is probably like done, or just like one more tool in my repertoire. Um,
Not a
I think
crutch
that
anymore, right? So
it's
it's
not,
not the only
no,
thing you do.
correct. I think I enjoy having experiences
Mm.
and um, tools to use that I can pull from that are perfect for the job that is at hand. Uh, it does feel stressful sometimes because, like, what am I trying to communicate? And like, I was trying to figure out like, what do I put in my bio, right? And just like, Illustrator is too general, and like black and white Illustrator, and like, so I'm still that. I think that this next side of this journey is gonna like kind of bring that, like, grow that, and I'll have a better understanding of
Yeah.
what that's gonna be titled. But yeah, I think that my style is going to continue to change as I change and as I grow. and understand what I'm doing more. And I think that this next 365 is about me listening and providing to the people in my community so I can help better or provide better spaces for joy and calm when people might need it in a crazy world.
I love that. All right. So one of the other things that you're really good at, and I think has really made a difference, is connecting with other. We have 15 minutes, so we got to be fast on these. So
Yeah.
why is it important to connect? Why did you go to Creative South in the first time? How many years have you gone?
4, possibly 5. Can't
I think
remember when the
5.
first time. Yeah, 5 might be right.
I think you've been a volunteer for me 4 times.
That's true. Why was it important? It was important because I spent so long of my creative life doing it in a bubble, and I didn't. It's harder to grow when you do it yourself, and it's better to do it surrounded by people that care for you and are looking out for you and want to also supply you with the best tools possible.
And they also want to grow themselves. So there's
Absolutely.
There's driving forces, other people driving, you're just trying to keep up. They're trying to keep up, right? You kind of,
Yeah.
So you were in a lettering group. I guess you still are. It's a Slack channel, right?
I am still in it.
So long time ago, it's all the people, of course, we're friends with them. Anyway, so Dan Lee was one of those people that he was also from Philly at the time. Doesn't live in Philly anymore.
It does not.
So why is it important to connect to some, like not just the group, but also have some good friendships outside of work that are also somebody who is also driven and is pushing their craft and their skill?
For me, it's to be able to like have one-on-one time with said person, especially, I mean, if they are local, it's even better, right? Like these are good. I mean, now this is where we are and doing this
everybody.
Online, but where it is so important to be able to sit down and even like talk life with another creative person, because maybe like what you're going through is helpful for them, and what you're going through, or what, you know, or vice versa. And also just like collaboratively, it's nice to be relevant with your friends and just like understand where they are. And you know, like I don't think that the like collaborations with the ceramic artists or the murals would have come up had I not had these relationships that I could like see all the time. Yep, Dan drawn words.
All right,
so yeah, I think that that's why it's important.
So I think it's just important to have one-on-one time. It's also important to have group time, because sometimes we learn things in a group, but then we need to talk them out with somebody else, right? Just like
Absolutely.
John said about the perfect blank page thing. So community building is also was really important. You were able to partner, because I always think of these murals that you did, you partnered with them. You didn't necessarily know, I guess it was batting cages. That was the ones that was white and black.
Yeah.
Right. How did you get that job?
I had just in passing mentioned to my buddy who was just hanging out with one day, and I knew that he was doing murals, and I was like, yeah, you know, I think I want to do murals sometime. And it was such a like passing statement. I thought nothing of it. It was just kind of like, yeah, you know, I want to do a live drawing sometime soon. And I just got a text one day at work, and he was like, what are you doing? You want to swing by this place on your way home and check it out? There's a door for you to draw on. And that's how I got that, you know. And that's another reason I had these connections, is so that you say something in passing that actually someone hears, instead of just like a thought you had and you don't take action on.
Right. I love that. Okay. So then another thing that happened during the 365 is you participated in our good friend Scotty Russell's Side Hustlers coaching program.
Yep.
So how did that affect your 365, and did it affect more on the business side or more mindset, or both?
I would say both, but I'd say it leaned more heavier on understanding how to set smarter goals and like
Mm.
positioning myself more. It was pretty Instagram focused. So I was like, I was not hashtagging well. I was not like, my profile just said illustrator and like didn't give any information. So like if anyone came to my page at that point in time, like what you saw was just like, who is this guy? um, so it helped me very like um,
Be more
build a
clear.
framework. Yeah,
Yeah.
and build a framework that people could understand more what I'm trying to do. Which, you know, it's a growing thing. Like it's also constantly changing every time the 365s happen or every time I change. So the journey's ongoing, but I now just have more structure and tools to understand and better equip myself uh, for better success or being more efficient.
All right, so we talked about this a little bit, and I didn't have a question on this. We have 10 minutes left, so we've done 9 minutes. We've done really good. So what happens when you hit one of those days? I mean, you had a death in the family, right?
I did.
Or what about when somebody was getting married and you were having, it's like how do you plan time for this? Do you get up earlier? Because some of those things are life things. And I can just imagine that, you know, Tony or whoever our partner is would be like, really, you're going to do this today? Right.
Yeah.
So there's some pressure that comes on, especially in those hard times. What are some things that you use to get through them?
Um, so I think that one of the things I'm going to do this time around is allow myself to kind of like uh, build inventory. So like build ahead. Um, but
Mm.
I'm trying to not lean on that as much, but that's something that I'm going to do from moving forward if I need it. But in the past, what I would do is those days that if I had something planned that was going to be hand drawn and there's just no way because of whatever, a small buffer. That's exactly right, Michael. Um, I would just use the iPad and you know, I can like probably scroll through my Instagram feed and be like, that this is a day, you know, the drawing that I showed, which is the day of the death, like that, like I said, that was 5 minutes, you know, and it was while we were driving, so it didn't like really eat into that time. And I think that's it. Like, even if you can create something in 5 minutes, like I think I'm lucky enough that I like the medium that I use and what I'm trying to do is like easy enough to use 5 minutes of time to post something or create something. Um, that's what's important. It's just like making that muscle work.
I also love, so it takes a little bit longer than taking a photo, right? But it's a
Hmm.
memory now. And now you can go back and now you have jotted a whole year of memories.
Yeah.
And I think we don't do that enough. Like, I think that we just, I don't know, the older I get, it seems like the years just fly by, right?
Hmm.
And so as you're doing this, it is taking it's something that we can come back to that moment and those moments and you can remember. I remember you went camping and you did a campfire and
Hmm.
there were all scenes that maybe had you not gone camping you wouldn't have done that, right? So again,
Yeah.
those are memories captured.
Yeah. One of my favorite, actually, the camp, I remember going camping and like I purposely did not take my iPad. Um, and I just took 3 canvases. We were gone for 3 days. I took 3 canvases and a bunch of paint. And I just, you know, every day that we were back at the campfire and just sitting around hanging out, I would just like pull out the canvas and paint and just like paint by the campfire light. And I just remember and like talking with my friends that were there, they were just like, I didn't understand it, but now that you're done, like it's a memory for them too, which was like kind of cool, you know, to hear that. Like, oh yeah, so you know you like this is even a marker for you, which is kind of like interesting
Yeah,
or
that's
fun, like
cool.
a happy accident, I guess, or a happy coincidence, or
Well, you never realize what you're doing um, affects other people as well. So Paul says choosing a 365 project that can be done in 5 minutes, if necessary, is a key point. I tend to
Mhm.
be over optimistic in what time I'll be able to set aside when I've tried to do these daily challenges in the past. I completely agree. So I definitely am in the same ballpark as you, Jeffy, about not a 30-day. Amy Hassenyeger and I are taking a 100-day. We are not sharing it except with each other, but we are going to I am taking the challenge. I don't know if Amy's
Hmm.
on the board with me on this, but I will share one a week, one
Hmm.
drawing a week, just because I love drawing, but it is very difficult sometimes. But as I go
Yeah.
back and I look at our last 100-day project that we did, I grew and I was able after that to work on that children's book in such a short amount of time. So I don't know if I'm going to do a ton of digital, but I think I would like to do 1 week for print, 1 week digital, 1 week print with 1 week digital, just because I would like to get better at that. And I would like to be more
Yeah.
comfortable. And it is a fear for me. I don't want to mess up, or don't want to do things. So the last two questions are, well, this is three questions really. How do you recharge?
That one's easy. I recharge by drawing. It is, like I was saying, when I gave up drawing, or not
Mm.
gave up, but like stopped, I did not like the person I became. I was very short tempered. That's like the smallest thing would send me spiraling, and I would get really upset. God bless my wife for being who she is and having as much grace as she does. Uh, she one day was just like, just go to the studio, draw or not draw, but just go sit down in the studio. And I did. And it was just like, like when I say it felt like a switch had been flipped, like I felt so much better just even sitting down and just like even trying to draw. I realized that that's why I do this. It's not for the fame. It's just who I am and what I do and what I need to do to keep Jeffy.
Right. Okay. So then what inspires you?
Um, the people around me, really. It's just, I'm constantly inspired by everyone that's just like trying to make the best out of their life, and like,
Mm.
I want to cheer them on. I want everyone to win. As weird or yeah, as weird as that sounds, I want everyone to win, because if we're not all winning, uh, then I'm not doing good enough, and I want everyone to at least even feel like they're remotely getting close to that. And so watching people do that inspires me.
All right. So choosing another 365 is another big commitment.
Mhm.
And you didn't stop, you just kept going, right?
You did.
So what's next? What could we expect? Is it more exploration, more subject matter, more um, because you want people to be able to experience the moment, and it is very um, when I watch your the videos, whatever, time lapse, those are
Mhm.
so like it's like those people in the garden that they're drawing, the whatever, right? The
Yeah,
sand
the Zen
drawings
gardens.
or yeah, Zen gardens. Clearly my brain's not working today. Zen gardens. But that it's very even just looking at when I have a couple of your pieces and I just look at the lines that go into it, it's very therapeutic. It's very
Mhm.
you can kind of get lost in those little lines. So what's next? What could we see?
There's a couple things that I'm trying to achieve with this next round of the next round of daily drawings. Is no, I'm not going to call it daily drawings. That's how I fail. 365. I have to have that number. 365 drawings is that I am looking to provide, like I said earlier, like I'm looking to provide people with a moment of peace and calm in
Mm.
their day, especially to meet them in the place that they might actually need it that day. And that goal kind of comes from hearing people say like, "Oh, I needed that," and if someone, it's like one of those like, "Oh, that's a need apparently," and I have the tools to meet it, so I'm going to do that. I'm also recently started doing just like surprise art drops, which is kind of fun
Oh
in this pandemic climate, where I can just go to someone's house, drop a piece of art in their mailbox, or knock on their door and just leave, and like have them find it and just like enjoy this piece in their homes. I would like to get my work into people's homes. And, you know, if that turns into like me selling online, like that's another goal, is to start, get my website done and start selling online too. But I think this art drop right now is kind of the way I'm going to, it's something surprising, it's something fun that I'm doing.
I love that. Okay, so is that something that you're hashtagging? Is that something we can all participate in and start the art drop, like dropping
We
art
could.
on people's front doors?
I
I love
haven't,
that
I
idea.
haven't, I haven't done that yet. So I haven't like hashtagged it yet, but I think the next one I'm going to.
It's a really neat idea. It's kind of like I wrote Patricia's here, and I wrote her a letter in the mail. And it
Yeah,
was,
right.
and she had written me, I just love getting real mail. Like, even I get so mad when John goes to get the mail, and I'm like, I like to get it. Even if it's bills, I like to get it. I don't know, because
No,
I like the
I don't.
inside of envelopes,
Oh,
maybe.
that's
But
right.
yeah. All right. So I want to make sure everybody knows how they can get in touch with you. So I am putting it in the chat, but it'll also be down below. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on wherever you get your podcasts, it's in the, it'll be in the links. Cut, C-U-T-T, Inc. is where you can buy and purchase, hopefully at some point in the future. And then you can also on Instagram, you can click on the link. It's at Cut, C-U-T-T, Inc. Studio, just one studio, no extra S at the end. Jeffy, is there anything else that we should know or we could do? And if we are going to do this art drop, what do we call it? What do we hashtag it?
I don't know. If someone's got ideas, drop
Jeffy's
me a
art
message.
drop.
Nah, not my name. We got to make it more global. I'll figure it out.
All right, you
Post
tell
it.
us, and we'll put it in the. If you want to, see any of these links, you can
Art
go
bomb.
to. Oh, art! I like that, Doc. Just go to dropping daily. Amy said, "Drop it's like it's hot." So you can go to rechargingyou.com/340, and that's where all these links will be if you are just wanting to get there in a different way than on your phone or something. What were you going to say?
Also, I was just going to say, like, you know, feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I am pretty active on Instagram. I would love to chat with everyone that's been in here and get to know you guys more and hear how I can possibly help you guys on your creative journey, if that is something that you'd like. Thank you, Diane. This was awesome.
It was way. This is the second time Jeffy's been on. Jeffy was on during a emerge. My hair is so long. It is like, I'm surprised you people can even focus because it's just so bad. Well, I'm going to show you. Tara told me never to bring these out. And John was completely, I got new glasses. I'm going to hit stop record. But anyway, we'll see you guys next week with Nathaniel. It'll be part 2. And then we are going to do our community chat the following week. So I think that's the 22nd. Yeah, 22nd. So come back and I'll have a topic. Check your email. And I also am going to try and give you a question every Friday. So it's just a question and maybe a little 1 sentence, 2 sentences of what I've learned this week. So check it out. I'm trying to do something new. You can hold me accountable. I'm really going to try to do it this Friday. Hey, Diane Gibbs here. Not that you knew that. I just want you to know that you can follow me at Design Recharge on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Easy way to get in touch with me. Just send me a DM if you have a question or something like that. I just wanted you to know that Recharging You is helping solopreneurs grow to scaling entrepreneurs. And that's what I do with my design business for my other clients. And then for y'all, I help you with your creative and your business goals. And as a whole, what we do at Recharging You is to build you up, to motivate you, to challenge you and support you while you go through your journey of building your business. I just wanted you to know it always helps if you can leave a review. And the best way to do that is to go to iTunes or Google Play and leave a review. And you can always share it with your friend. New things are coming this summer for Patreon. I so appreciate everybody who's stuck with me. Even $1 a month helps. You can become a patron at patreon.com/DianeGibbs. And of course, my favorite way to build websites, it's what I'm teaching this semester and what I've made a ton of videos on and will continue making videos on, which will be part of the Patreon. There will be a Patreon that'll just be for web or for learning Elementor. And it makes almost any WordPress theme invincible. One thing I've heard people say is, oh, well, I want my blog to look different than the rest of my site. Well, no problem with Elementor. That's not a problem at all. It'll be super easy for that to happen, and everything's customizable. So it's completely a blank slate. They give you a free theme, and there's a free plugin, Elementor. But then when you're ready to go pro, I'd love it if you'd use this affiliate link to purchase the plan that's right for you. It's really, really affordable. And the link to get that is bit.ly/D R and then Elementor. And then the other thing that I've come across that I just don't know how I didn't see this before, but I use it every day now with clients and even with Design Recharge stuff and recharging you, is an Envato subscription. It's the Envato Elements. And if you're looking for excellent resource for royalty-free stock photography, stock illustration, music, stock videos, or After Effects videos, templates, anything. There's over 2 million and growing creative resources, and it's unlimited downloads per month. You should check this yearly subscription out from Envato. I've been able to find more diverse models, so I love that. And then I have anywhere else, and the search resources are really, really good. You can also sell on there as well, just so you know. I do think that they definitely need some keep fleshing out all the photography as well as their illustration. I think that's something we could add in, so look into it. The other thing is that it has been an incredible resource for me, and the yearly subscription is an unheard of deal. It's like it's in ranges for how big your company is, so but really, really affordable. So you can check that out at bit.ly/Envato and then D R. Timely is the app that I use on my computer or my phone to track my time for my clients. And there's this stalking option, which remembers, especially for times like this when I haven't been great about keeping it, I've been working late, it tells me what you were doing this on your computer, or you were looking at this, or you were answering this email. And that really helps me. And if you want, you can try out the subscription before you activate your subscription. You can try it out for 14 days. And if you use this link, you'll get a 10% discount. Well, I hope you will check out Audible. It does allow you to listen faster if they talk too slow, which I also like, because I read more books. I listen to more than I actually read physically. I have the gold membership, and it is a new credit, which one book is one credit, and it's less than $15 a month. This is less than the price of the book that I'm purchasing for sure. I've been a member since 2010 and I love it. And with this link, you'll receive a 30-day free trial and a credit for a free audiobook download. So if you go to audibletrial.com/designrecharge. And then Skillshare, hello people. If we are not getting our skills updated during this time, this is the thing. Skillshare is super easy. It's $10 a month, and that is the premium. But if you click this link, it is 2 free months of Skillshare Premium. And that is bit.ly/DianeGibbs. Diane, only one N. So just to let you know, all of these are affiliate links. That means I get a tiny piece of the pie. But your price doesn't go up at all. So I hope that you guys will join me, read a new book, learn something new on Skillshare, track your time better, use Elementor if you're using WordPress to build websites. You can always try all of these pretty much you can try for free. So I hope that you will join me and check out the YouTube channel, because now there are playlists that are specifically for Elementor, and there will be some that are typography, and those are coming this summer, as well as some other things. I'm excited to have you along. Thank you so much for listening to this entire thing.